Hey guys, this is Liz Canada from Sleeklens. Today I have a tutorial on the Runway Fashion workflow for Lightroom. I'm going to be showing you guys how you can use the black and white presets to basically turn your fashion photography into black and white. Often people think that fashion photography, should be in color, but black and white can be just as effective to sell your product, and it can actually create a really nice picture. So I'm going to be showing you guys different black and white tones and the presets that come with this workflow. So I have a photograph pulled up, and before I actually get into the black and white presets, I'm just going to do a few presets before that because these presets are stackable. So what that means is basically you can apply one preset and then put one on top of it, and the second one you put on top of it will not cancel out the first one. So the first preset I'm going to be going with is just a basic correction, auto lens correction. And that's all depends on the lens you use. Sometimes the correction is minimal, sometimes it's bigger. It just depends on the lens you shot the photograph with. So the next preset I'm going to be using is just a sharpening preset. So I'm just going to the smart sharpening and I'm going to do the light. So for this preset, this black and white preset, I'm going to be using one called Old Fashioned. So if you scroll down to about halfway, you'll find all the black and white presets here. And I'm going to be using Old Fashioned for this one, which as you can see has added a lot of clarity and contrast and just kind of given this a really edgy look. So I am going to adjust it. So even though these presets are one-click edits, what I can do is use my tabs and sliders over here to kind of tweak them a little bit and change them the way I want them. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just put the highlights up a little bit on this. And I'm going to lessen the clarity just a tiny bit. And basically that's all I'm going to do for that preset, but the next thing I'm going to do is go to my vignette presets, and I'm going to be adding a light black vignette to that. The only thing about, even though I use the light black vignette, which is the smallest of, it goes light, medium, dark, basically I'm going to go down here and change it because it's a little too dark for me. So I'm going to go into my effects. You're looking for something that says highlight priority. I'm just sliding the slider up a little bit so it's not as strong. And the last thing I'm going to do is use a brush. So opening up my Runway brushes here, going down to the fixed overexpose, and basically I'm just going to use this brush on her face because she's got a lot of light hitting her face and it's just slightly, the highlights are slightly overexposed. Not a whole lot, but alright, so that's all I'm going to do for this picture. I'll show you them side by side. So as you can see, the picture before is still a really nice picture. It's evenly exposed, but what we've done on the right hand side is just create a photograph that has just a lot of contrast and attitude and just a little bit of a flair to it, a certain edge, especially if you were using it for an advertisement. It would be a really nice photograph. So moving on. I'm going to move on to a studio photograph now and show you how you can take a studio photograph into a black and white setting as well. So again with this one, I'm going to be starting with the auto lens correction, which is basically just going to correct any lens distortion from whichever lens the photographer used when they shot this photograph. Alright, again I'm going to be using my contrast, smart contrast here. I'm going to be using the medium one. And I'm going to go down to my black and white presets now. And for this one, I'm going to be using black and white maximum tone. So I've gone ahead and added that. Now I'm going to stack on top of this a matte preset. And we're just going with the matte light. Basically what that matte light is going to do is just add a little bit more of a gray tone into the background here, into the shadows. Okay. Sometimes with the black and white, as you can see, her eye color and her eyes have just kind of got a little bit dark, so I'm going to use a brush here just by opening this, and I'm going to go to my Runway brushes again, and this time we're going to be looking for the lighten eyes one, or brighten eyes, and I'm just going to be using that generally just over her eyes to just kind of add a little bit of light there. Alright, I'm going to use one more brush, hit new. I'm just going to be using the soften skin brush. just to kind of soften her skin up a little bit. Right, and even though these are all one-click edits with the presets, you can still go into the tabs here and readjust them. So I'm going to open up my Basics tab here, and I'm going to kind of pump my contrast up just a little bit and my highlights up as well. Okay, so we've taken a studio photo and we've made it black and white, and I'm going to show you the before and after. So as you can see, the same thing as the photograph before, it gives it a nice edge. The black and white is always a kind of classic thing, and even though it's not in color, it's still a great way to kind of sell a product or push a product or just make a great photograph and make it really polished overall. We're going to be doing one more photograph, not in a studio but outside, and I'm going to be showing you guys another kind of form that's not exactly black and white, but it kind of falls into that category. We're going to be looking at a sepia toned black and white filter. A long time ago, sepia was a special chemical they used to basically dye the photograph this kind of muddy brown color, I guess. So basically I'm going to be showing you how you can use the sepia effect in this black and white tutorial. Again, I'm going to be starting with the auto lens correction. And again, I'm going to be using the sharpening. So going down to the smart sharpening, I'm going to go with light. And going to the black and white presets, I'm going to be using the sepia one. So as you can see, it kind of adds a brown tone to it. So we do have this black and white sepia one here, but we also have the amber sepia, which is basically a little bit more brown and a little bit lighter than this one. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that one instead. And so as you can see, this has added a kind of nice brown tone, but what you can see here is it's a little bit overexposed. So we're going to go over here to our vignette presets, and I'm going to add a medium black vignette just to kind of darken up the edges and add some contrast. And then I'm going to go over into my Basics tab and tweak the presets by lowering the highlights just a little bit and turning the exposure up a tiny bit, as well as turning the contrast down. And I'm going to be turning the shadows down as well. Alright, so here's the before and after. So as you can see, same thing with the other two pictures. We've just taken a color photograph and added a really nice black and white tone to it. Here we've of course used the sepia. So here we have the before, here we have the after and the before. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial on how to use the black and white presets in the Runway Fashion workflow for Lightroom, and I hope you can try it out for yourself.